The delay to the September 4th was somewhat hampered by community charter legislation that and the whole tax sale proponents that tax sale had to be on the third Monday of every September, hence why September 4th was chosen. And the October 1st penalty date was chosen in large part due to the province's change in legislation for the year, where class 4 to 8 properties all would have an October 1st penalty date. Literally hours after our meeting, the province came out with a new directive where they were going to allow municipalities the ability to forego a tax sale for 2020 only. Now, with that, it opens up the tax due date question again. Currently, with having a September 4th due date with penalties not kicking in until October 1st, there is a month lag there where it opens up to some confusion for residents. They don't really know which is the actual due date, when they need to pay their taxes by. Staff would be recommending that if council wanted to continue with that October 1st date, that you also change then the due date to September 30th. It will provide a lot more clarity for residents. There'll be a lot less confusion, and it will also make writing the bylaw that much easier. So with this new announcement by the province, it is our recommendation that you would extend the due date from the 4th of September to the 30th of September, and then penalties would kick in the following day, October 1st. Again, much less confusing for residents and a lot less administrative time for staff to have to answer a whole whack of questions, which we're anticipating that we would have to answer with phone calls and everything from the public. So that's my report, and I can answer any questions.
Council? Aaron Trainer, Councillor Trainer.
Did we already say publicly about the September 4th due date and October 4th, I think it was originally? Did we already talk about that?
The September, yes, they were both included in a press release that came out, I think, late last week.
Yes.
Yeah.
On Monday.
Monday.
Okay. So if we were to go with your suggestion, then we would just issue another media release, obviously with the updated information and why we've done this.
Yes, so we'll be able to update that information and put on the website. We're including a list of frequently asked questions on the website as well, and we'll have to highlight this particular change for sure.
One final thought.
Just drafting the good thing is that we haven't finalized the April newsletter yet, which if council do add this change, we'll make sure that is very clear when we send that newsletter out next week.
Okay, I just have one final thought. I think it's a really good idea because I kind of always thought that 30 days of, saying we'd like you to pay it by the beginning of September, but we're not actually going to, penalize you until the beginning of October. I think that was confusing for people. So I think that the September 30th and October 1st deadline is much clearer, and I think people will get that.
Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, thank you. And presumably the date will be on the bills that people receive in the mail, right? The due date, the new due date.
Yes.
So So it makes perfect sense to me.
Councillor Carlson, do you have any questions?
I do not. It sounds like a good decision.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, could I ask someone to bring forward the motion, please? Councillor Holmes, seconded by Councillor Barkwell. Any further discussion? So the motion on the floor is that staff prepare the 2020 property tax bylaw for presentation to council with the property tax notice remittance due date extended from September the 4th, 2020 to September 30th, 2020, and that penalties for late payment commence on October 1st, 2020. All in favor? Any opposed? So that's carried unanimously. Thank you. On to 4.2, COVID-19 operational update, and over to you, CAO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So not too much of an update as of today. Yesterday we had the provincial update, and I wasn't actually able to make that call, so I'm going to hand you over to Mayor Boot just to run through the summary of that meeting and any new information that that came out from the province yesterday. Mayor Boot.
Thank you. Give me time to blow my nose. Really, there wasn't very much information that came out yesterday. It was summarizing what the province has done on the municipal affairs side, and EMBC, I think it was Jen Rice, spoke about emergency operations and how they are re-looking, because they had been looking at changing the act, as we know, and they are very cognizant of, as we move into freshet and wildfire season, which has already started in some areas. So there was that. The only piece that I thought, this was a request by one of the mayors that was on the line, was that when the restrictions started to be lifted, that the restrictions on BC parks be looked at in a regional context rather than all throughout the province, because there are differences in various areas. And it was the mayor of Ashcroft, now I remember, that brought this up. And there was also, related to that, there was also the request that parks, BC parks that are within municipalities, similar to Sanoka Beach here in Summerland, they really want to be open to the point where people can use the parks passively, not including any campground facilities, but be able to use their parks passively for the trails, much like we've done here in Summerland. So those two things came up. The only other thing to report really is that Minister Robinson said that now that we have moved, I don't know, what are we, maybe 8 weeks, 7 weeks into the pandemic, that the meetings are going to be every second Thursday instead of every Thursday. So that's really the update. Councillor Holmes, Chair Kozakovich brought forward your question about transit, and Minister Robinson is going to pass that along to the appropriate minister. So that was done. Actually, Councillor Holmes, could you let the rest of the folks here know what it is that you requested?
Yeah, you know that BC Transit fares are free, right? You can ride buses everywhere in the province for free. So my question, and I've asked at both the council table and the RDS table, and nobody really seems to know, what happens to that revenue that we, as a council or the regional district, would normally expect to receive from the fares? Does that mean we lose out, or are we going, or is BC Transit going to compensate us for that lost revenue? So I've just been trying to find out that, and nobody seems to know.
Thanks, Councillor Holmes. I have a question related to that of you, Dave. What revenues do we typically see from BC Transit ridership? I know that they're fairly heavily subsidized.
Going from memory, Madam Mayor, they're about between $20,000 and $30,000 is what we would receive in bus fares.
So about a third of a percent in tax.
Yeah,
A third
on
of
the
1%.
lower side, about a quarter, yeah.
1/4%. Okay, thank you. So Anthony, I don't know if you have anything more to add.
No, that was it. Just to pick up on a couple of those points, Mayor Boot, on the snow survey side of things, we're going to have more information in the next week or so on the May results in terms of some of the melt that is happening out there. We've got a good indication about if the weather's accommodating things quite well right now, which is a good thing. The guys are seeing some melt happen, but we'll have the data ready and we'll have that information for council over the next week or so. And then with regards to some of the parks restrictions, we're just working with the regional district and all the member municipalities around the May long weekend, because that's the next obviously large recreation opportunity coming up for people in the middle of May. So trying to get some consistent messaging around what the situation is going to be for the May long weekend around camping and campfires and park access and those sort of things. Again, the intention is to try and be as consistent as we can with the South Okanagan communities. So we'll have more information on that and the snow survey for the community over the next week or two.
Good, thank you. And that certainly was the reason that these concerns came up yesterday, is people are anticipating the May long weekend and a flood of people moving into the area. Could I ask you something related to that? I guess it's a little bit related to COVID. It's certainly related to trails. And that is the kind of burst of emails that we've been getting about the Trans-Canada Trail, the trailhead Fife Road. Can you bring us up to date on what's happening there? I'm pretty sure there was something in our budget about that, but I can't say for sure.
Yeah, I can't recall on the budget. I know we've received a number of complaints around some of the congestion that people are seeing, and typically those trailheads are busy on the weekend, but right now we're seeing that increase throughout the week. So there's certainly a lot more traffic there during the week. So we had a couple of complaints around some of the congestion, and we've forwarded them off to our public works guys to have a look at. Is there the ability for additional signage, for example? There may be some fire department access limitations with the additional traffic as well. So there's some operational things that we're looking at specific to, I think it was Fife Road, but also some of the other recreation access points in the community as well. So we're trying to deal with those as they come up.
Thank you. Councillor Traynor, you had a question?
Yeah, I've been to Fife a couple of times on my bike. I've ridden up there. And the congestion along that road is really bad. Like on the weekend, I think that there was cars backed all the way out to the road there to Fife. I think it's Fife or whatever. They were backed all the way out to the road. So I was thinking that it might be a good idea to put a note on our Facebook page or even in our newsletter that encourages people, if they're going to use Conkle, to park at the rodeo grounds, because there's much more parking there. I think it's okay. I think that Fife area can handle a few cars, but there was probably 20 of them. So I can see why the neighbors get really frustrated, and that road's not designed for that.
Yeah.
So maybe just a bit of an education campaign to encourage people and to let them know that there's that other parking lot.
Not for sure.
Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, just on that, would it be possible to paint actual parking spaces, public parking spaces, at the on the road there, and then everywhere else is no parking? So you limited the parking spots available.
Yeah, I think there are some limitations in terms of the surface and the ability to paint on the. I think it's not obviously a hard surface there. So there's additional ways through signage and other ways to try and delineate where it's appropriate to park and where it's not. So, but our works teams are in the process of trying to figure out some solutions there at the moment based on the increased use.
Thank you. Councillor Barkwell.
Yeah, Councillor Trainer's mention of Facebook reminded me of something that I don't think your daily messages on Facebook are working. I think the Summerland Facebook page should just have important messages from the District of Summerland, and you should have your own Mayor Tony Boot Facebook page. I was checking out some other municipalities just last night, and that's how they did it. The district at their had important things like a picture of the park closed sign on the Facebook page, and direct municipal information. And then the mayor's own Facebook page had, went to the park and saw, lots of people being careful or something like that. And so what is happening is that all the other sort of more general social type of comments are drowning out the important messages that should just be on the district site. And I'd like to see that site going back to the way it was, just strictly important district information. It's really not appropriate to be the mayor's page.
I will have Anthony speak to that, please.
Yeah, I think so right now there's no real protocols around that. One of the intention of the mayor's message was to keep the community up to date on what was going on a daily basis. So obviously from the mayor's point of view, there's some information there on social distancing, and the message varies every day. We've had a lot of good feedback on the comments side of things from the page as well. But yeah, certainly open to having that discussion with council. We haven't had any negative feedback directly on the page so far. If council are receiving some comments, then we'd love to get that feedback and be able to respond as well.
Councillor Barkwell and then Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I don't know what feedback you might necessarily get, but it's clear in my mind that it's not an appropriate use of our Facebook page. And I will send an email with the links of a couple of examples that I think are appropriate. And then, maybe the discussion can be a more informed discussion.
Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I agree. I think anything coming from the District of Summerland should be factual information and not anyone's particular opinion. It's a principle. It's not a popularity contest. It should be limited to factual information from the District of Summerland.
Anyone else?
I had a couple thoughts on it. There are some posts that I think are quite appropriate. The one yesterday, when you talked about the curve and Dr. Bonnie Henry and things like that, I think that's really important information, and I think that is valid for putting up on that page. But then when I see something like pictures of, I'm not sure which one it was a story about one of your sons, which is lovely, but I do think that then we maybe miss the message that maybe people tune that out, or they don't pay attention to the message that's important that came the next day. So I think that there's certainly a place for it, and some of them work really well, and maybe others don't work quite as well.
Thank you, Councillor Carlson. I'm just going to speak up in my defense here. Anthony approached me and asked if I would give a regular daily message. And the reason behind this is it's part of the communication strategy that is being developed. And certainly during COVID, there's all kinds of unsettling, dramatic news. We hear it every day. And along with that, there is misinformation. So what we talked about was a combination of passing along important links, but I guess balancing that with messages of encouragement, thanking Summerland for doing what they're doing, trying to bring a sense of calmness, talking about ways to manage your mental health. And that is best given, as we all know, storytelling is very, very strong. And as long as I'm not telling things that are not true, that are not factual, I would like to be able to continue to do a mayor's message every day. As you know, it's a combination of passing along information, putting up links so that people can see stuff that's happening through the RDOS Emergency Center, but also through BC CDC, which is the recommended link by the province for up-to-date information. I do not see that doing this for the people of Summerland is, as one councillor put it, an abuse of privilege. I don't see that at all. And the comments that I get, the number of people that are now following the District of Summerland Facebook page is very encouraging. And I do not agree with what Councillor Barkwell said, in that the messaging is all messed up and people are missing important operational messages from the District of Summerland. That has not proven to be the case. So that's all I need to say about that. Councillor Barkwell.
Well, when you first brought up the suggestion, it seemed like an appropriate thing, but when I look what's up there now, I see that it isn't appropriate. It's the mayor saying often what should be on Mayor Tony Booth's website. And when you see the examples I'll send, it's politicizing the district's website, and you're not necessarily going to get, and you can't say, how do you know, you can't tell me that operational important things are missed. You don't know if they've been missed or not. But apart from that, it's pretty clear to me that if you were to take this to an ethicist, I can't even say the word, they would say that the mayor writing family stories and stuff on the district's website is not appropriate. And you should be and you could have a big following on the Mayor Tony Booth site and have just the district's site for district information, facts, and such. And anyway, and I think that's how it's done in other communities too.
I'll respond to that. I don't have a mayor's social media site for a couple of reasons. One of them being that it's important to have, and I keep saying this over and over again, it's important to have communication channels. This is why we're collaborating with the RDOS on so many of our messages and actions. It's really important to have a single communication channel without a whole bunch of information all over the place. That's one reason. The second reason I don't have a mayor's social media page, Facebook page, is because, as you know, there are other mayors that have found that problematic and have taken their mayor's social media page off. And frankly, I do not want to open myself up to the kinds of comments that tend to be surfacing more and more on social media. So there's that. In order for people, a third reason, in order for people to hear from the mayor, they would have to be a friend of mine on social media for them to see a mayor's message. Again, this is part of a communication strategy that Anthony discussed with me, and it is working as far as I can see, and as what Anthony started out with his comments. It's working really well. People in the community are very appreciative of not only the reminding information, the social distancing and that kind of thing, but also something to keep their mind off of things. I don't think that I am politicizing the page. I kind of wonder about that comment, because we're all politicians, and I'm the mayor, and I have earned that role, and the community voted for me to fill in that role, and I'm doing that role to the best of my ability. And I work very closely with Anthony. In fact, and I don't know if you know this, I don't have direct access to the page. I talk to Anthony, I send my message on. Sometimes, like this recently as yesterday, I said, Anthony, what should we write about today? Or what would you like me to write about today? And sometimes he gave me a great suggestion yesterday. That's what I wrote about. I do not directly post to the District of Summerland page. It goes through the person that currently is filling the communications role for the District of Summerland. So I don't appreciate that comment about me politicizing this. I don't appreciate Councillor Holmes' comment that I am abusing my privilege, because I don't look at it that way. And that's my response to you, Councillor Barkwell. Oh, back to you.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any other problems mayors have had, but there's no reason you can't have a Mayor Tony Boot Facebook page where it's all messages are open to the public, just as the district's website can be seen by everybody. I'm not a friend of the District of Summerland's Facebook page, so there's no reason there. I don't know what you're talking about with that remark. And you can just not allow comments if there's negative feedback, same as the district's website. So it's not necessary. And I'll stand by my comment that by you putting up personal messages and stuff, it's inappropriate politicizing of Mayor Tony Boot with the district municipality, and I'll bet money on it.
Councillor Barkwell, I think that you are misunderstanding the District of Summerland's Facebook page. You're not a friend of the page. You can like the page, and then you will get the news feeds. If you can actually raise the profile of the news feeds. So to become a friend of the District of Summerland, that's not how it works. Secondly, on the comments that come in, whether they are, well, the comments that come in are ones that Anthony can see as an administrator of the District of Summerland Facebook page. But just like everyone else, I don't see any of the comments. If somebody that is a Facebook friend of mine makes a comment, I can see that, but it's only because they're a Facebook friend of mine. All comments are ones that Anthony can see all comments.
Yeah, and just to speak on the comments, so the comments aren't open to the public, and they come through, and generally they're questions. If there's an operational matter or if someone has a complaint about things, they're the questions that will come through Facebook, regardless of what what post it is, and then we forward them off to the right department for a response.
So that's exactly my point. You could have the same sort of Facebook as a Mayor Tony Boot Facebook page.
Madam Mayor, may I add something?
Absolutely.
So I appreciate all of this conversation, and I think it's really important that we're having it. And like I said in my first comment, there's pieces of it that are really good, and there's also that personal connection, that piece that is really good too. You know, there's people that have decorated rocks and they're all over Giant's Head Mountain. Putting that up there is really wonderful. I think that the feeling when it becomes extremely personal, when it's almost like the details of your life, is where I think that there's the uncomfortable feeling that that maybe Councillor Holmes and Councillor Barkwell are getting. Is, you know, it's great to share that there's those all of these little bits and pieces, but maybe in a less not quite as personal, perhaps. I'm not sure if you understand what I mean or if that makes sense, but there's something there that maybe rubs some people the wrong way.
I will respond to that. A number of people, including someone in the media, have said that they especially appreciate those comments because it reminds them that we are all in this together, including the mayor. We're all in this together. We're all feeling the same amount, or I shouldn't say the same amount, but we're all feeling stress. We're all experiencing an unsettled feeling. A lot of people are experiencing financial difficulties, and it goes on from there. When I have people comment, and especially the media, say it is so great to hear that we're not alone in this, and even is how the media put it, even the mayor is experiencing the same things that we are. That is very encouraging. That's encouraging news for me, but it's also encouraging for the rest of the community. So I don't know how much longer you want to spend on this. If someone wants to bring forward a motion to change the communication strategy, then that would be fine.
And I just want to, if I just make a point there, in terms of the operational updates, there's definitely no intention for Mayor Boot to comment on an operational matter that would influence a decision in some way. That's certainly not the intent. It's just there's obviously the social component that's coming out, as well as the regular operational updates that we do, but no intention to speak to any opinions on what those operational matters may be. And that's why they all come through me, to make sure that I guess the factual side of things is dealt with. But happy to obviously have that discussion and direction for sure.
Councillor Barkwell and then Councillor Holmes.
I know what I'm saying sounds really negative and an attack on you, but in fact, I think you're actually missing an opportunity. You could really increase your own brand with a Mayor Tony Boot Facebook page. And it's not that those messages aren't, you know, appreciated and stuff, but they could be just as well appreciated on a more appropriate Tony Boot Mayor or Mayor Tony Boot Facebook page. And you could really go to town. And I see in Peachland, you know, Mayor Fortin posts on Peachland neighborhood's website encouraging messages and stuff, and gets lots and lots of likes. So there's, you know, you could grow the concept, but I think that the appropriate place to do that is the Mayor Tony Boot site. And like I say, I know of one good example of the first one I looked at, and I'd like to send that to you.
Councillor Holmes and then Councillor Traynor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about politicizing the site, but it is definitely personalizing the site. And nobody else has the right to post personal messages on an official District of Summerland site. And so that's why it's an abuse of privilege, because only you as the mayor is taking advantage of that and posting personal messages on a corporate site. And that wouldn't be allowed for any business or anything like that. So that's why it's an abuse of privilege. And I would bring forward a motion that posts to all District of Summerland social media pages be limited to factual information pertaining to the District of Summerland.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. I just want to respond to one thing before we go to Councillor Traynor, and that is, Councillor Holmes, I think you're missing the point. I don't know how many times I have to say this. One, this is part of our CAO, who's also our communications person at this time. This is part of his strategy. He asked me if I would do this, and yes, I would. And again, everything goes through him. If there's something that he deems inappropriate and that does not fit into our communication strategy, then he'll let me know. At this point, that hasn't been the case, but as he said, if it's something that is moving into operational territory, then he'll let me know, and it won't be posted. There was one instance of it moving into operational, and that was the posting of the mental health webinar that our recreation department was working with the Canadian Mental Health Association. Now, Anthony can attest to this. I asked him if I could promote that webinar, and he agreed. And it also was recognized that it was an operational matter. The information also got up on the website as an operational post. But again, I checked with Anthony first, and that's how we did that. Again, nothing will go up on the website, on the district, sorry, not the website, on the District of Summerland page until it is vetted by our CAO. As to Councillor Barkwell's suggestion that, you know, I'm speaking out as the mayor. Yes, I am speaking out as the mayor, and that's why it's called a mayor's message, because I am the mayor. I don't know how else I would approach that. We know that our former mayor, Mayor Waterman, and the current mayor of the city of Victoria, both have taken down their mayor's Facebook pages for exactly the reasons that I was alluding to earlier. People, as we all know, can get very nasty when they're sitting behind their screens and making comments. So I'm not going to open myself up to that. As a public figure, I get enough of that anyways. If there's anything I learned in my communications courses, it's to be very careful about social media and the way that it's going. Councillor Traynor.
So I just have a couple of thoughts on this. First of all, I think that this is all new territory. I mean, we've never dealt with this kind of emergency before, and I think we're all just doing our best. I mean, I completely understand where Mayor Boot is coming from when she's trying to have a personal connection with people, because I think that that's what they're looking for. But I also understand where the other councillors are coming from, in that the district Facebook page should be reserved for district business and operational business. I at the same time, I also understand why the mayor is posting. I mean, she is our leader, so that's one of the ways that she is communicating with people. And I also respect that she doesn't want to have her own Facebook page. I have my own as a counselor, and I've received some nasty comments. Most of them are really good, but you do have to deal with people that type whatever they want from behind their computers. And I think as a mayor, you get more of that than maybe counselors would. So I was trying to think of, you know, how we can overcome this, or maybe find some kind of compromise or a possible solution. So what might be an idea is that Mayor Boot does a post from the district site once a week, and it's her mayor's message, and it's very clear that it's coming from her, and it's all of her thoughts about what's been going on and any advice she has for residents. And then the rest of the week, the posts are all done by Anthony on behalf of the district, and they are operational and business in nature, or they're sharing helpful links, whatever else the district might want to share. And then that way, we kind of, you know, it's kind of a compromise down the middle, and Mayor Boot really gets to say what she wants to feel and still have that connection. And then we maintain the, I guess, neutral position that the district Facebook page probably should be. So that's just a thought.
Anyone else? Councillor Van Elfen, you haven't spoken up. Did you want to say anything, or?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, I agree. You know, I think it should be more on an operational information basis, like district information, not necessarily personal, you know, experiences or personal encouragements for the community. I think it should be, you know, the municipal facts and question through to the CEO. On the operational side of this, you said there's comments that do come in that no one sees except for you. Would it be advantageous for us as counselors to be able to see those comments? I know we don't deal with them, you have to deal with them, but it'd be kind of interesting to hear some of the feedback.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think where there's a question that is addressed to mayor and council, that should come to mayor and council, that would come. Typically, I think 99% of them are just questions around, well, what's happening with this park, or what's going on here and there, and more operational. So if there's definitely anything that's addressed to mayor and council around a concern or a success story or whatever it is, that would definitely come through to council. But for the most part, 99% of them are really questions around garbage pickup and some of the day-to-day business that happens at the district.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on this?
I just have a quick comment then. I appreciate what Councillor Traynor said, and I find myself agreeing with her. I think that as this goes on, it's going to become difficult to make that message every single day from the mayor. And so I don't know if Councillor Holmes, if that motion that's on the table addresses or would work with Councillor Traynor's comments, but I'd like some clarity on that, because I think we should go forward with what Councillor Traynor suggested, assuming Madam Mayor, you feel comfortable doing that.
Councillor Carlson, just because you addressed me now, I'll speak up. I totally agree with what Councillor Traynor said. Yes, I am the mayor, and people look at me, you know, in that role. What you just said about as time goes on, it'll be more and more difficult. As I said yesterday, and it wasn't the first time, but yesterday I contacted Anthony. I said, I don't know what to write about for my daily Facebook page or Facebook post. And so he gave me this suggestion, and then I sent it back to him, and he posted it. But given what Councillor Traynor has suggested, that the mayor's message be given once a week. I think that's a good suggestion, and it certainly follows up on what we heard from Minister Robinson yesterday, in that our weekly calls are now bi-weekly as we continue to move through this. As things start to change, I don't think it'll be anytime soon, but as we start to hear some lifting of restrictions, that again will be an operational thing, and we'll be able to respond to those things. And certainly I have no problems, and I thank you, Councillor Traynor, provided Councillor Holmes is willing to adjust his motion, for bringing forward that suggestion for once a week. It'll help me. It'll alleviate a little bit of stress too. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Councillors Traynor and Carlson. So Councillor Holmes.
I'm not exactly sure what I'm being asked to amend. My motion doesn't say that there can't be any mayor's messages.
Karen, could I have you read the motion again, please?
Madam Mayor and Council, what I've captured is that all District of Summerland social media pages be limited to factual district business and information. Councillor Holmes, does that capture?
That's the gist of it. I mean, I totally recognize there's a role for the mayor to be the spokesperson of council, and it's important for her to communicate to the community. I'm not suggesting otherwise. My objection is the messages. Some of the messages, as Councillor Carlson said, some are perfectly fine, but it's the personalized ones that I have an issue with, and I don't think it matters whether it's daily or weekly or monthly or annually. There's no room for those kind of messages on a official District of Summerland website. So to me, it's not. It's the issue isn't who's delivering the message or anything like that. It's what the message. It's the content of the message, and so I don't really see any change in that respect.
So, Councillor Holmes, you I'm not really understanding. Councillor Traynor suggested that the mayor's message continue, but they're once per week rather than once per day. That then she asked if you were willing to look at that. Are you not willing to look at that? I'm not really understanding.
That's entirely up to you, Madam Mayor. It's how often you want to. I personally, I don't think there's any point in writing a message just for the sake of writing. If there's nothing to write about, then yeah, you reduce the frequency. But as I said, that's not the issue. The frequency isn't the issue for me. The issue is the content. And that's and so sure, yeah, I'm all for whether it's weekly or that doesn't matter, and my motion doesn't speak to that one way or another. So absolutely, I'm in favor of what Councillor Traynor suggests, but I don't really see how what if you have anybody has a suggestion of how I could amend the motion to address that, then go ahead, but I don't think it's necessary.
So Councillor Holmes, if it's not the mayor's message and it's not the frequency, but it's the content, and that's what your resolution or your motion is all about, then I feel that there needs to be clarity in your resolution that you have concerns about the content. That you no longer want to have any personal content. You're the one that brought this forward in the first place, in a rather unkind and hurtful way. So I see your face, Councillor Holmes, and to call me abusing my privilege, that was a hurtful statement. So I'm suggesting that if you have an issue with the content, that for clarity, that should be included in the resolution. Councillor Holmes and then Councillor Barklow.
Well, I'm happy to make it more clear, but I think factual information is the key phrase there. Factual means it's based on facts. Not opinion. If anybody has suggestions to make it clearer, then I'm happy to.
Councillor Barklow?
Yeah, I thought the motion was pretty clear and well put. Maybe, if the CAO is going to be sort of reviewing the posts and has any questions about what those guidelines might, as proposed in the resolution, might mean, we could hear from them.
Anthony.
Yeah, I was going to say I think we'll take the direction from council, but I think it may be worthwhile if council are okay giving me some direction to bring back a policy on obviously on the communication side. We have to do there's obviously lots of work that the district needs to undertake on that, but in the meantime, if council are comfortable with giving me some direction to bring back a policy around Facebook use, I think we can maybe address some of the conversation that's been had over the last little while.
Councillor Traynor?
I think I absolutely agree with Anthony. I think that going forward, we need a clear policy that states exactly what that Facebook page is for. And then I think that would make everybody feel more comfortable, and then it's in writing and we all know what to expect. That being said, with the COVID crisis going on right now, I don't have a problem with Mayor Boot doing a post once a week with whatever she wants to say, her feelings, her thoughts, once a week. People know they expect it on Friday or whatever, and it clearly says, this is from Mayor Boot, here are my thoughts. And then people can comment if they want to or whatever, and then she gets to express herself through that. And then the rest of the posts are all done operational, and they come from Anthony. That's for the time being now, until we have a clear policy about where we're going in the future with our website or with our Facebook page.
Thank you, Councillor Traynor. They are always identified as mayor's message. Every single one starts that way, so people know that they are coming from me, not operationally. So that's one point I wanted to make. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I wanted to thank you for bringing up once again, after Anthony mentioned it, the communications policy. As you know, in the last, since the beginning of this year, we have talked about the District of Summerland communication policy, and our corporate officer began drafting that, and then COVID hit, and of course a whole bunch of things happened, and she has not had the chance to revisit that. What you're saying in terms of we've never experienced this before and things are quite different now, that's absolutely right. It's not my intention, once COVID is at least round 1 of COVID is done, to continue these, the mayor's message at, at even once a week. This was simply something that Anthony, again, asked me to do, and to provide a bit of comfort and quiet and calming to the people of Summerland, while sharing the real important links to information. So thank you again, Councillor Traynor. And Anthony, we've talked about this as a council. We've talked about this a number of times, and that seems to be a good response, in my opinion. Councillor Barkle.
It still comes back to the words of the resolution. Perhaps our corporate officer could read them back once again, because I think that they're very practical guidelines. And I will agree that when it first came up, it seemed like a good idea, but in working and looking at how it's evolved, and like I said, and looking at some other places, I see that we could do better by sticking to the facts of the district, the information that the district has, and then you could build your brand on your own website without a problem. Anyhow, could we read the motion back again, please?
Certainly. That all District of Summerland social media pages be limited to factual district business and information.
Sorry, Mayor, you're on mute. Sorry.
Hey, Councillor Traynor?
If we vote on this motion, there'll still be a policy further coming forward, though, that's encompasses all of our communication and social media?
Correct.
This is kind of just like I don't, for lack of a better word, a temporary motion that we're dealing with, or
yeah, through
like we're going to have a bigger discussion about this.
Yes, for sure. I think the larger communications piece is
Yeah.
something that we have definitely wanted to bring through to council, especially with some of the organizational changes, even through the budget last year with the executive assistant who was largely doing a lot of those communication roles, and the change that was made back then. So I'll be working closely with Karen on bringing that back to council, hopefully in the short term.
Okay, like a fuller communication strategy.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Any other questions? Councillor Carlson, are you there still?
I'm still here, yep.
And any other further discussion?
I don't have anything further to add. I just wonder if we're going to have this policy created, if maybe we don't need to have a full, we need to have the policy before we have the motion, but I'm not really sure.
Thank you, Councillor Carlson. We do have the motion on the floor. If there's no further discussion, then I will call the question. Too bad Councillor Patton wasn't here. All in favor? Opposed?
I'm opposed.
You're muted, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Barkle. So Councillor Carlson and Councillor Traynor are opposed. And I accidentally raised my hand, so I'm opposed as well. But, so
Defeated, your
so
worship.
okay, the motion is defeated. Thank you, Corporate Officer. Would someone like to bring forward another motion, or to do with the communication policy? or what? Councillor Trainer.
I'm not sure if we necessarily need one if Anthony's going to be bringing forward a more robust communications plan, which would include a social media policy in the next while.
Yeah, so it may be worthwhile just having that direction out of today's conversation, because I think there's obviously been some good conversation around and concerns here and there, and there's lots of pros and cons, obviously, with different situations that we're dealing with right now. But it'd be great to get that direction just to round out this conversation, directing staff to bring forward a communications policy for council's review.
And it is a communication policy, not a communication plan.
Correct.
Councillor Trainer?
I was just thinking out loud. That would include communications when we have an emergency, whether it's an outbreak of something or a flood or fire, how the district communicates going forward.
Correct. So yeah, I think we've got to look at it. There's obviously it's a larger scope when you look at addressing all of those things, but we may look at some short-term approaches as well, because there's some issues that we're dealing with right now. So we'll try and encompass everything, and maybe the first version of that document, for example, is the framework. What should this communications policy or strategy apply to as that first discussion? So I think having the direction from council to actually do that work formally coming out of this discussion will be very helpful for Karen and I and the team as we work on that.
Councillor Trainer, would you like to bring a motion forward?
Sure, I will. I'm not exactly sure how it should be worded, but along the lines of what Anthony just said, I would support that.
Karen, could I have you? Thank you.
That a communication policy for council review be forwarded to a future meeting of council for consideration.
Pretty straightforward. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Carlson. Councillor Holmes stuck up his hand, so it's on the floor. Any further discussion on this? I just wanted to say one thing, and thank you for bringing this forward, Anthony and Councillor Trainer. This will give us a good, clear understanding of the division between operational communication and policy and governance communication. It'll give us some good guidelines for communications with the media and also social media. So I think it's something that we have been talking about for a long time, and I'm glad that it's coming forward more immediately. Councillor Trainer.
Anthony, in your report, can you include examples of what other communities are doing, how they use social media, maybe communities our size, and then other ones in British Columbia that are doing a really good job at it, that you think are doing a good job? It would be nice to have those examples. I know Richard was going to send some, but I think that would be helpful if we all could look at those before we have our next discussion on this.
Yeah, certainly there's some best practices out there and some great examples in other communities for sure.
Councillor Barkwold, did you have your hand up?
I was just going to say the same thing. I was wondering if Anthony was aware of Penticton. Did they have a policy?
Yes, and they've obviously done a lot of work over the last year or so updating their engagement strategy as well. So there's a significant amount of work that's gone into that. But we'll certainly look at Penticton, and there's lots of other great examples out there as well.
We might not necessarily agree with them, but
no. To see the range that's out there, and again, social media is changing fairly quickly as well. So you want to build some flexibility into it as well. But we'll have that discussion once we bring some information back to council.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Oh, I guess we've lost Councillor Carlson. So that carries. Thank you. Sorry, I think that was the COVID update was the last thing. Yes, it was. Before we adjourn the meeting, Anthony wanted to talk about something in closed.
Yep.
So could I, Councillor Holmes?
Yes, sorry, I wanted to ask one other thing regarding the COVID update.
Oh, okay.
Have we heard anything from the province regarding public hearings and how we can move forward on those? Nothing.
No, nothing further, nothing more on the call yesterday, or I would have told you about that. Nothing more.
Yeah, nothing from my end on the operational side of things either. We're a lot of questions still from other municipalities. As you can see in other communities, some are waiving public hearings. OCP related amendments, those sort of things are unfortunately on hold right now, given those current requirements. So again, we'll keep up to date on what the province are doing, but no updates as of today.
Okay, could I ask someone to make the motion to go into closed, please? Councillor Van Alphen, seconded by Councillor Holmes. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so thank you, and over to you.